technology, diversity, wine, the redwoods, and everything in between. Welcome to the Northern California Bay Area, and one show takes you inside the real estate that makes it all happen. This is By the Bay.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Dan Ancheta back with another episode of By the Bay. Thanks again for joining us, and wherever you're listening, we appreciate you being there. Make sure to drop us a 5-star review if you have a minute to do that. That helps us out a lot. And hey, today I have Gene Quisisem here, and Gene does many things. We're going to touch on a bunch of stuff, but today's really focus is about his job that he has coaching with the Tom Ferry coaching program. What's the official title over there? Tom Ferry International, something like that.
It's Tom Ferry International. I'm a performance coach with Tom.
Yeah, totally. So Gene and I go back, I don't know what, 7, 8 years, because your wife,
Can't believe it.
Annalise,
I had a little bit of hair then.
Yeah, is a referral partner of mine, and that's how we got connected. So the focus of this show is really about Bay Area real estate. Our listeners are primarily people in real estate, realtors, people who are looking to buy houses and that sort of thing. I love the topic of coaching, and I know that you do lots of things, but I wanted to talk to you about what it is that you're doing with Tom Ferry, who is a thought leader in the real estate and really kind of sales space. It's not just real estate. I'm a mortgage guy. I listen to his stuff because it applies to what I do as well. So kind of walk us through what that is, what you're doing, how you're helping realtors and other sales professionals, and what the kind of ecosystem of the Tom Ferry thing is.
Yeah. All right.
And tell us about you too, man.
Yeah.
Jump in.
Hey, man. It's like, number one, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. By the Bay. Love what you're doing here. It's great to be here in the seat. I think I'm hearing in my headphones, I sound great.
You do sound great.
Thank you.
And you look great. I mean,
thank you.
So kick it off. So how did you get involved with Tom Ferry?
With Tom Ferry, well, my wife Annalise has been coached with Tom for a good 10 years now, and we really do owe a lot to Tom in the organization. And so much that we've learned, so much so many people that we've met within the organization and the ecosystem, and that the tools, the methodologies, the motivation that has been expressed by Tom, just over these years, we put that all to use. Annalise has put it to use in her business. We saw the trajectory just grow seeing her coaching and accountability with the coaching.
Right, that's a huge component of it, is the accountability, the person who's checking in to be like, let's make sure that you're doing what you say you're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
Right? I never really thought about the amount of connections that you make too, because it really is an ecosystem where you plug in, you're getting connected to people, you need resources and tools, and you just kind of talk to everyone else who's in that world.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, as a community, it's about 6,600 clients around the world, and they are super productive clients,
right,
in different markets.
Right. And like the huge names that superstars,
right? So these are
the people you see on TV, right?
People you see on TV. They're on, they're the agent. These people, and they're very just accessible, right? And they're right there. So the community is just sharing best practices, what's working, what's not working. It's the best of the best, and those the ideas and the plays that they're running are all boiling up, and they're shared, right? And they're shared, in our regional events. They're shared in the webinars. They're shared on YouTube. They're talking with Tom, and it's just being shared. All these plays that all the agency in the ecosystem, much of it it's already there. You could see it. Right. It's available. You can go to Tom's YouTube page. You go to his podcast, and the plays are right there.
Totally. It's funny because I was I do like a monthly class for my realtor partners, trying to add value, going beyond just being someone who handles a transaction for them. And most, probably half of the classes I put together, because I try to make them original, I go to tomferry.com and I look and see what the plays he's running, and I read the one sheet on it, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is what he's seeing out there, because and he's very open with the resources. So
we say we'll say R&D that.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Rip off and duplicate. Right? It's already there. Just you see it, you get inspired by it. The question is, how are you going to use it? Right. How are you going to put it into play?
And that's where the coach comes into, right? So hop into that. So you have run a real estate company for a long time, right? And you're seeing the success that Annalise is having through the coaching program through Tom Ferry, and you decide to become a coach at some point. So walk us through kind of what it is that you're taking your coaching clients through, right? Because they need some type of support, and they're paying you as a coach to help them be accountable for the things they need to do to be successful in their business, right? Yeah. So walk us through like what that looks like, the overall kind of process, and what you're seeing in your coaching clients.
Yeah. So it all begins with painting a picture of what the vision is of their business, right? Having a long-term view of where they're going, right? Where are they going? Where do they see themselves? And hopefully, my hopes is that they would be in this business for a good 10 years, because there's not going, there's nothing happens really overnight, and only the great things. It takes a long time.
It does.
For it to develop.
Right.
So my work as a coach is to help them, get the vision out of their head and to write it down.
Okay.
Right? They need to define their greatness.
Okay.
As they define their greatness, they define what what they see, their vision of their business, what it's going to be. My job is then to hold them to that.
Okay. So, that makes sense. So analyzing where they are in their business, where the holes are, where the gaps are, what are the things that they're not doing consistently or need to add to their business, or different kind of it's so funny that I say this, and I realize now that I've listened to too much Tom Ferry. Run plays that work, right? That's his whole thing. So making sure they're running plays that work, and then holding them accountable for those things.
Yes. Okay. You need to hold them accountable. So where it begins up, have a vision, have a plan. What is your plan, right? So the foundations of our business is of the business and our coaching is understanding what is the business plan, right? So where are we going with the vision? What is the plan in terms of what are the goals that we're hoping to achieve?
Right. And
we'll define those goals in a smart way, ones that are specific, measurable. Is it achievable? Right? Is it time based? Right. And so we'll hit on those so they can define it and write it down, and writing it down in a plan which we then will track and measure. Right.
So they like begin with the end in mind, right? Going like, what is it we want our business to look like in the future? And then you have to kind of peel that back to, I can't necessarily control when the sales happen. I can't necessarily just make a house go into escrow, but all I can control is the behaviors that I do that lead up to that, right? So the leading indicators are what you're focusing on?
It is the leading indicators, yeah.
So what does that look like for most realtors right now? Because the market's changed, and maybe the plays that were working a year ago aren't working anymore. So can you give a little sneak peek, like what is working right now for realtors, and like what are the leading things that most of your clients are focusing on right now?
Yeah. So I would argue, every agent has a different, a different approach and what's most important to them for them to drive their business. I would argue that their most important places of focus needs to be, number one, it's in listing attraction, finding listings. That's my number two, brand awareness, and then three, leverage.
What do you mean by leverage?
Leverage means what resource, if your name is next to everything that needs to be done over the course of the day and the week, then you're going to feel overwhelmed.
Okay.
What resource can we leverage? Where can we, what tools that might be available from us, from the brokerage, from the office, or from the team that we're underutilizing? Where can we take work and place that in somebody in a team, or maybe it's a TC, or somebody that we need to bring on board to do that kind of work, so that the agents are they're focused, and their time they're spending is on their highest and best use.
Right, which is relationship building, finding clients,
talking, negotiating, closing deals,
putting deals together.
Right.
I think that's critical, right? There's kind of scaling in a way, and really like only doing the thing that only you can do, right? Like your TC can't be out there showing clients houses and putting deals together and negotiating with with other agents, but they could do a lot of the other things. So like if you can let someone else do it, let them do it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But getting back, listing attractions, right?
Yeah.
So why listings, right? So when we look at 2023, we need to look at we know, and I think we're very well aware where we're at, and kind of transaction wise, I like the numbers. I just ran these numbers the other day here in Sonoma County, right? So when we look back, 2019. Right, I feel like that's pre-pandemic, right? In Sonoma County, we sold about 4,700 homes.
Okay.
Right, and then of course, pandemic happened. Right. So we had the bump. Right, we sold more homes in less time.
It was crazy.
It was wild.
Yeah,
right,
wild times.
We did it again, and we did it again in 2020.
What was the magnitude of the jump? So 4,720.
It was like from 47 to 5,500.
Okay,
and then to 2021. Yeah, 2021. Yeah, we're in the 6,600 range.
Wow.
So big jumps in terms of number of transactions.
Right, but as a percentage, it's huge. I mean, that's
huge.
50% increase.
Yeah,
like that's a lot.
Yeah, it was huge.
Right,
and then 2022 as it panned out. Right, so we kind of leveled off at the beginning of the year and second half of the year interest rates. Right, so we're impacted by that. So what's interesting is that the so in 2022. We wrapped up at about 4,500 closed transactions, and
so a little less than pre-pandemic.
Basically, we'd returned back to.
So we did this kind of big uptick, and then we kind of went back into the normal kind of curvature of that cycle, little kind of wavy curvature instead of like big jump. Yeah. So, do we have any expectations or projections what 2023 looks like?
Well, yes, there are projections.
Yeah.
So nationwide and with car, we're talking about 5 to 7% fewer transactions in 2023 than we had in 2022.
So,
so
rough,
a little bit less.
Rough numbers there, about 300 less or so. So. Is that right? 200 something less. So yeah, we're looking at 6,500-ish. 4,500-ish.
Yeah, 4,500 minus the 5%. Under that, right? So it'll still be, in the north of 4,000 transactions.
Got it.
And according to their
California Association of Realtors, and
it might not feel like that right now, right? Because we are in fact down 50% month over month. This December, we're 50%. Down in terms of number of transactions versus this prior year, right? So, but what was interesting when he looked at these numbers is that although we had this bump for 2 years and then it's returned back to 2019 level, right? The surge in the average sales price in Sonoma County, it went from like 678 to about 950,000 average sales price in Sonoma County. So the net result to that is, although we had fewer transactions in 2022 than we did in 2019, the total gross commissions earned by our industry, by realtors at 5%, grew by something like 23%.
That's really interesting with the kind of additional component of fewer like iBuyer discount broker situations that are happening right now. A lot of them have exited the space. And so it'll be interesting to see how that number pans out. Additional growth in terms of higher price points, or maybe slightly lower than 2022 and 2023, maybe some variation there. But I think there's going to be less discount brokerages trying to, take the easy cream transactions off the top, because if you're seeing these brokerages that are struggling, right? They have massive layoffs that are happening and all these other really troubling things, and so everyone's kind of looking for profit growth in different ways, and one of those I think is probably going to be less discounted commission expectations, and also I think the consumer behavior, because it's a harder market, will be that they won't expect the discount. There was a time period where it was like, just list the house and it's sold. Doesn't really matter. You don't even need to take pictures. You just like throw it up on the MLS and it's going to sell. Right. So like, why am I paying 5% for you to just take pictures and handle a piece of paper? That's not this market anymore.
No, it's not anymore. And so what the realtors, the listeners need to know is that, the transactions are still going to happen here in Sonoma and Marin County, right? Mm-hmm. To the extent of more than 4,000 here in Sonoma County. So the buyers and sellers is still going to happen. But what is going to happen also is that the buyers and sellers are going to become more selective.
Right.
Right. They're still going to transact.
Right.
Right. They're just going to be more selective. And so what the agents in this market need to do in order to compete is what are they going to do to they really need to 2x their effort,
right?
Ad spend, conversion. What are they going to do in order to maintain the income level that they had?
So that's
before?
a great formula to kind of visualize here, right? So like let's say you have to talk to if you talk to 100 people, and that results in 2 interested sellers, right? Let's say that's like a 2% conversion rate, right? Mm-hmm. And you actually close those transactions. So one way to grow additional business is to talk to 200 people.
200 people, yeah.
And expect that you close 4 of the 200,
mm-hmm.
right? Or you talk to the same 100 people and you get really, really good at that conversation, and you convert at a higher ratio.
Conversion.
You convert.
Right.
You convert instead of converting 2, you convert 4 or 5.
Right.
So, so ad spend would help you increase the number of at bats you get, getting more people to talk, more conversations to happen. So that might be a good play. But also at the same time, getting really great at your scripting, getting really great at your overcoming objectives, and having the data at hand, and having plays that work mm-hmm. to convert instead of 2 out of 100, 4 out of 100,
right?
And do both of those things.
Right. Yeah. And as the metric there is the measurement there is where we across the 6,600 Tom Ferry clients and the millions of transactions that we close over the existence of the ecosystem, is that number really is landing. It's one closed transaction for every 60 conversations.
Okay. That's great data.
Yeah, and it's increased a bit. Before it was about 40. It's getting more challenging. We need to have more conversations than it is now. Most recently, landing at about 1 in 60. So
right. So from your coaching perspective, you're looking at but what is your individual client's ratio, right? Closing ratio,
yep. Mm-hmm.
And if it's better than 60, it's like, okay, what are we doing differently? How are we addressing that market? Let's do more of that thing mm-hmm. that's resulting in a higher conversion.
Right.
Or if they're closing at 200 to 1 in 200, okay, then we've got a situation here, either with the market that we're addressing or with the messaging that we're bringing to market.
All right.
Right. And
right.
how do you dissect that?
Well, the interesting thing is that most clients, they have a fairly high conversion ratio. When they get into appointments, right? They're really good in the room, right? When they we're getting an appointment, we're going to take a client, we meet them in person, then that has a high conversion ratio to them actually writing offers and closing.
Right.
Same thing, particularly on listing, pretty high, right? If I get a listing appointment, right? So they convert well when they get the listing appointments. The challenge is to not reaching their goals is that they're not having enough conversations to get into those, and they're not booking and setting the appointments. And this is really where we're finding is that it's the appointments are the leading indicator to new business, and if the appointments on a listing side is really what's going to drive business as we look forward into 2023. What are we doing to be in in front of our potential sellers in appointments in a focused time with our clients,
right? So I always like to get a little more granular. So where are those listings coming from? What are the buckets or the pillars of business that we're seeing that are working right now?
Yeah.
Is it running ads? Is it mailers? Is it sphere of influence and database? Can you break down in general what you're seeing with your clients where those conversations are originating from?
Yeah. Vast majority of business, more greater 70%, coming from sphere of influence, past clients, and referrals from your sphere and past clients.
So either past clients coming back for another transaction, or mm-hmm. someone that you've already done business with that knows you, likes you, and trusts you, referring their friend, neighbor, coworker, whatever, to
Yes.
you. Okay.
Yes. Right.
70% of the business comes from there.
70% of the business.
So if you're listening to this and you don't have a strategy and you're not running plays around getting to those people and making sure that they know how important they are to your business to send you their friends, family, neighbors, whoever, to you for their next real estate transaction, that's where you need to start.
That's where you need to start,
Right.
because those are the people. These are people that already know, like, and trust you.
Right.
And so, what are the messages? What are the impressions that are we delivering to them on a consistent basis that helps them understand that you are a resource for which they can ask questions about real estate,
And maybe more than real estate. Like, we really want them to come to us for everything.
Yes.
You need a plumber, you call me. You need
Yes.
a place for your kid to go to preschool. I'm the local. What is, again, Tom Ferry? I steal so much from Tom.
Yeah,
Sorry, Tom. The local. You want to be the local expert, the local mayor.
expert.
You want to be the person who knows everything about everything in the area. So any of your clients can call you for anything, and you're the first person they reach out to.
Yes. Okay.
So 70%.
70%. Okay. Now, demographic wise, who has the ability to transact in 2023? Given the interest rates today, who's more likely? Who has more control of the market, the wealth here in America? And it's, everything indicates, the boomers have control, right? The boomers have all the money, right? Baby boomers control more real estate and they control more wealth in the country than any other demographic.
Okay. So boomers, what's the age range right now for boomers?
All right. We're gonna have to chat GPS that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, we'll ask.
But it's our so the answer is it's our folks.
Okay.
Okay, it's my folks, your folks, and generally for most of us in our direct peer groups, it's our folks, and that is the questions that we need to ask. If our folks, if that's your demographic and you're working that,
they control the wealth.
They control the wealth.
But why would they be transacting in 2023? Like, why would they? Like, what is the motivation? Most established homeowners in the last number of years refinance their house down to something that starts with a 2 or a 3. Why would they transact this year?
Yeah. Why would they? Yeah. Everyone has a little different, plan, right? But let's think about what their plans were when they first purchased their home in, say, this, perhaps it's the 70s and the 80s, right?
Right.
So they bought the home, and it's remarkably inexpensive in hindsight, right? And over time, they've built their wealth and have leveraged the strategy of building wealth through real estate, right? It's also the strategy that they thought that they would build this wealth and they would pass it on to their heirs, their kids.
Right.
And so little did they know that now and today that they would build so much wealth into their homes.
Passively making wealth by just living somewhere that they happen to buy.
And it's locked up. It's locked up in their home.
Right.
And now that they are in their elder years, now they are looking at their plans, and they're looking at what's happening here. So what we see, observing, is that the kids, they've grown up now in their 40s and their 50s.
Right.
They're doing pretty well.
Right.
They kind of made it all out. They've got their own homes. They bought their own homes. They got to raise their own kids, and they moved out, and they're in different places around the state or around the country.
Okay.
Right. So now we have a population of boomers and older generations that have homes that are 2,200, 2,500, and even larger.
Right.
With
the family home, the 4-bedroom, with the formal dining room that no one goes into,
and 2 stories, and it's all of this because
it's not a great home to age in.
No.
Right.
No.
So one reason is they're moving out of the family home to downsize into something that needs less maintenance, that's a single story or has a primary suite on the first floor or whatever that situation is.
Yeah.
Okay.
The house that they had with the strategy and plan, they already, everybody would come back over the holidays,
right?
The entire family, and we would all. But that plan is not particularly panning out that way, right? Kids are in different places. Grandkids are out where they are, and they're not necessarily coming home for the holidays.
Right.
According to their plan. What do the grandparents do now? They have to travel to all these other places, and the kids, they don't come home because there's nothing to do at grandma.
Well, and even if they do come home with apps like Airbnb and other things like that, you can do short-term rentals. Why stay at mom and dad's house? Like, let them downsize into a 2-bedroom condo, single story, whatever that situation is, and just go stay, in the nicer, cooler part of town and rent something for the weekend when you're here, right? Like, that's also a technology that's relatively new in the scheme of things, that's making that type of travel easier. Especially like for us, we have 3 little kids. It's like, we can't just go barge into my in-laws' house. That they don't have enough space for us. We have to go rent something because the kids need bedrooms and different nap schedules, and it just it's not feasible. Anyway,
So I think so really at the end of the day, it's the baby boomers. They have options.
Right. I see that trend. I also see the generational wealth transfer from grandma and grandpa right now who have grandkids that are in their early 30s that are finally, quote unquote, finally getting married and starting their families.
Yes.
And they're at a position where they're like, hey, if I don't get some type of assistance from the family, I can't afford to buy a house in Sonoma or Marin County. Yes. So I'm going to move to Sacramento. I'm going to move elsewhere, or I can work remotely and I can be anywhere. And I'm going to, move to Utah, wherever people are going. And the parents and grandparents are like, whoa, wait a second. What if, we can get you some cash and we can give you a gift and help you buy the house so you stay within driving distance of us, because we've owned our real estate since the 70s and our tax base is 0 and we don't have any debt on our house, and we are happy to help you stay local so we can be nearby and that sort of thing. So I see those two things happening, regularly. So that's another. So it is the boomers controlling the wealth, but it's not them necessarily being the buyers.
Yeah.
They're giving the money to the kids to help them stay nearby. It's interesting that marketing from the realtor's perspective and who they're addressing is still the boomers in both cases, because they have the money, they make the decision.
They do.
Right?
Yes. But there's a way. How do we get, so how do we get to the boomers? How do we, if they're not in our direct peer group?
Right.
Okay. So what we do in our normal course of business is we stay connected with our sphere, with our friends in sphere, and it's in our peer group, right? We're asking, how are you? How's your work? How's your family? Right? What are you doing for fun? Right? It's our forward. We follow that a conversation, right? But the probably most important question, or maybe a question that we can ask of our peers is, how's your folks?
Right.
Are they still there on that corner in the house that you've grown up with? How are they doing? Right? How are they doing? Have you, do we have have you thought about a plan, for them long term? These are the kind of things that I'm thinking about for, how are we going to care for mom and dad, right? As they get a little bit older. It seems like that time where we really need to start thinking about those kind of considerations about the long-term care and long-term plan for our folks. It seems to be right around the corner, and that you and me and our age group, that we don't have a lot of people that we actually talk to about that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, you're totally right. It's actually very interesting. I tend to be very open, and people talk to me a lot because I'm like the money guy, right? Like my background's in finance, and I do home loans for a living, and so lots of people will tell me lots of things about their life, and my friends included, and I'll get calls from people and be like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about a reverse mortgage? What do you think about all these different financial tools and instruments? And I think there's a real lack of education and awareness around like, what are the real options, and how can you, as a real estate professional, go beyond being the person who can help you list your house and becoming the person who can help you find a financial solution to your parents aging in place and not outliving their money. Right. Like, that's a different person. They might actually use the same form to sell your house, but the person, like the conversations are very different.
Yeah, very different. Right.
Okay. So going back to, running plays that work, focusing on number one on finding listings, and knowing that 70% of business is coming from your sphere of influence and people that you know directly or have done business with. What other plays are you encouraging your clients to use right now?
Yeah. So probably number one play is the idea of an annual equity review. Okay, is that we're professionals.
Say it louder for the people in the back, my friend, because I preach this all the time.
All right. It's an annual equity review. You and I and Dan, with those of us that are in this business, we're professionals, right? And what do professionals do? The professionals in our lives, our doctors, our dentists, our tax planners, advisors, our wealth advisors. These are professionals in our lives where we spend about 1 hour a year focused on the long-term vision, long-term plans, right? And we set the course for what we might do over the next few years, maybe within the next years. Why don't we as professionals, right, have that focused 1 hour time scheduled with our people that we know?
That's exactly right. This has been on my strategy list for years.
Yeah.
It's been on every single year when I do my planning for the following year. I tell myself, this is the year where I do my annual financial review, that I get together with my clients for a half an hour or an hour, wherever it is. And we talk about their equity position in their home. We talk about their loan. We talk about their other financial plan. We talk about their debts. We talk about their assets. We talk about their retirement plans. We talk about their kids. We talk about all these other things. And it's not to, just scoop up easy referrals or anything, but it's to actually be involved in people's lives.
Yeah.
And again, so thought leaders talking about, so I'm stealing this directly from Todd Duncan. He says that he's the mortgage equivalent to Tom Ferry.
Yes.
And so Todd Duncan says, if you want to be their lender for life, you have to talk to them during their life. You have to actually talk to these
100%.
people. You can't just be the agent who shows up when there's a house to buy or sell. You have to stay around. You have to add value beyond filling out the transaction and scheduling the pest inspector and doing all the stuff. That's super important work, but that's not your real job, right? So in that annual equity review, right? What did you call it?
Annual equity review.
Annual equity review. Mm-hmm. Is there a script that you're using? Is there what is the actual conversation look like?
Yeah, well, the conversation it's a reflection of where have they been, where they are now, and where they might be going, right? So that's broad framework, right? So it's you've owned your property since then. Since then, we've developed a equity point to what is the if you were to market your property today, it would be here,
right.
And then can you imagine, right? What other work would you might see in the future, as repairs, improvements, expansion, on the property, and also it leads to the can you imagine yourself always being here?
Right. I ask. One of the most effective questions I ask is, I know that you have a spectacular interest rate, but how's the house? Mm-hmm. Right? Because if you've got a 2.5% interest rate on a house that doesn't work for you,
right,
it doesn't really matter that you got a great interest rate. What matters most is that the house doesn't work for you with whatever's going on in your life.
Yes.
You have a 2-bedroom condo and you're expecting your third child, probably don't really care about your interest rate. You probably need some more space.
Right.
So are there any other quick hits that you can share with the audience about, what is Tom Ferry, what is Gene Quisisem and Tom Ferry saying about here are the great questions to be asking your clients?
Yeah. Well, really a great question, to be asking really right now of all clients is really, we know they've been in their home. We're anchoring that with the fact that they've been in their home. And many have been in their home just since the pandemic. And it's just a check-in. You've been in your home since 2020. Just curious. How's it working out?
Right.
Very simple. In that short, what we know is that, and there's some recent research that's showing that 1 in 4 home buyers during the pandemic have reported that in some way they are disappointed with their purchase.
Interesting. Right. There's a lot of pressure on them at the time to hurry up. I mean, we were seeing offers with no contingencies, and you walk through it one time, but offers are due right now, and you have to go, and you're going to miss out if you don't go. So that's a quarter of the population that bought a house. In that time.
1 in 4 home buyers during the pandemic are reporting that they are disappointed with their purchase, have some type of buyer's remorse in some way, since the pandemic. And so the question there is, well, how's that, how's it working out? We don't know precisely what their thoughts are about their home and how they feel about their home. Little do we know that 1 in 4 may love the house, love the location, but if I knew the guy that lived next door was as annoying as he is, I might not have bought this house.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things you can't know necessarily until you live there, right?
I didn't know there was I didn't know the pantry. I didn't think at the time that the fact that there's no pantry, in the kitchen, that would really impact me. Well, maybe it was a hasty choice. I think next time around, one of the really important things is that we have a nice, solid, spacious
So
pantry.
even if they're not ready to do a transaction right now, at least put it into your notes, into your CRM system.
Absolutely.
That the next time that they call you to buy or to make a transaction happen, that that is important. And if you remember that, you put it in, the thing is, you can't remember that. You have to make a note of it.
You have to make a note of that.
And if you note that into your conversation log or whatever it is, and then you come back to that when the next transaction happens, because of course, if you have Gene as your coach, then of course you're gonna just hit a home run with all these clients. They're gonna love to come back to you. You're not gonna have any leakage in your database, right? They're all gonna come back to you for the next deal. You'll be able to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I know that one of the most important things to you is obviously the square footage and location, but you told me 2 years ago that having a pantry, like a walk-in pantry, would be life-changing for you, would be a huge deal. Let's only focus on houses that have that.
Precisely.
How that's a great customer service experience for them to be like, wow, you really care enough to make notes and remember these things.
Yeah.
Right.
You listen to me and you remember.
Right.
Right. Yeah. You care. And that's that's what we'll coach too, right? We need to we don't know where our clients stand or what they want, and so we only know when we ask, right? And so we have to ask. You have to ask. Be in a position to ask those questions. The annual equity review is a fantastic time to learn, ask those kind of questions about where they've been, where they are,
right,
and where they're going.
Get their file up to date.
Yeah, we make the notes. Right, and we know that we follow up because we will be in this same, appointment, right? Focused time, right? We'll create that cadence of having this annual equity review about the same time.
I think it's really important because you're also going to find out about lifestyle changes, job changes. The kids are going to school. Oh, so-and-so decided that they're going to do this instead of that. Or I'm commuting now to go to my new office, which is 75 miles away. You're learning about their life and understanding who they are. In addition to that, hopefully you're connecting with people on social. You're kind of being involved in their life and kind of knowing the general idea of what's happening. Mm-hmm. And so that you can weave some of those occurrences that happen that have happened. How was that vacation you went on? You can make it look very personal. The information is out there, I think, right?
It's already there. Most, we're all sharing, and I think we look for the the clues and the life events that may point to the indicator or something of a major change is going to happen.
Right.
And, I think we know very well our. In our real estate, the catalyst will be of the 5 Ds: diapers, diamonds, downsizing, death, and divorce.
Say that. Say 5 Ds. I have not. This is new.
5 Ds.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is new. Okay, so a catalyst, right? So we look for the 5 Ds. Okay, diapers, divorce, death, downsize, a job. What's my last one? Diamonds and marriage, right?
That's great. That's brilliant. I mean, if I think about the clients that we're working with, mm-hmm. most of them have one of those things happening.
Most of them will, yeah.
That makes total sense.
And so we keep those in mind, and it's we're sharing socially, and so they are almost they're sharing. We're pregnant, right?
I'm thinking
engaged,
I'm thinking about this in real time about about the idea of why boomers would sell. And if you see that they just posted on social that their son or daughter moved away and bought a house in somewhere else, and you know them, and that's the last child that was local and everyone else has been scattered about. Like, isn't that someone, like, those signals that should be telling you to pick up your cadence of communication with these people?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, the context clues and being involved and not burying your head in the sand, and just focusing on the one transaction or transaction you have immediately in front of you, but to be aware of all of the information that's available about your clients and who they are, and they're volunteering it to you. And the people who are successful are the ones who listen to that, make note of it, and then identify the pattern.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And in that next financial review, you might say, I saw that your son moved away. Like, I saw that over the summer he bought a house. That's awesome. Congratulations. How is that? How is that for you? Right? How is that for you? How are you doing with the empty nest? We hate it. We're traveling all the time to see them, and we're, it's like, okay, make note of that. Like, this is a likely person that is going to do something that's going to need your help.
That's right.
Right. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I like the 5 Ds. That's really awesome. And anything else on the kind of listing attraction that is working right now? You've covered a ton. I'm just, making sure that we didn't miss anything.
Well, let's see. On listing attraction, right? So it's about consistency.
I think that's crucial. Yeah, I mean, obviously, right? Like, how many people now have already given up on their New Year's resolution?
Yeah, we're almost hitting February. 80% will fail, right? So,
Right.
From about one more.
And it's really hard. It's easy to do the first few days because you're excited about it. But the boring, consistent, slogging work is where most people fail, right? So how do you keep your clients moving in the right direction? And as far as being consistent and doing some of the unpleasant, boring, how would you describe it? Just like the less sexy part of the business, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The less sexy is it's what's the most important thing that they need to be doing is being in a direct two-way conversation, with their clients and the people that they know, right? And so they need to have the time set aside and to acknowledge that is the most important thing, for them to do. And so they need, they do need a structure. Many need a structure and a system in order to keep that all kind of in place. And the play that we're running and an entire ecosystem is we're following is the idea, the concept that's been explained very well in a great book called the 12-week year.
Okay, I'm familiar.
Okay, good,
yes.
Great, awesome. All right,
so summarize that for the audience. 12-week year.
12-week years. We set plans for an entire year. It's too much. Right? It's good to set a vision and goal for the year, but we can't anticipate what the action items we'll have at the December of 2023.
Right.
What we can control is that, and what we can focus on is that which is going to happen really in our immediate future, and so that's much more near term. So we have to compress, our focus. Into, what are we going to do over the next 12 weeks?
12 weeks. So you're breaking down, instead of saying, hey, by the end of the year, I want to, just for easy, I want to lose 10 pounds, right? Who gets started on that right away? Me, personally, I wait until October. And I'm like, all right, time to start getting serious about losing that 10 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And I spend the rest of the year not actually doing that.
Not actually doing
right.
it. Yeah.
So, but if it was, by the end of March, I've got to do this. That's more in my face. The time pressure's on. I've got to start acting now.
What do you have to do in order to achieve 10 pounds by the end of March? Is that a feasible goal to lose 3 pounds per month? How many workouts, how many calories, how much do you really see yourself doing?
Well, maybe it's not 10 pounds by the end of March. Maybe it's 3. Because that's a portion to get you to the final 10 at the end of the year, right? So,
that's right.
But if you project out 10 by the end of the year, you don't get started until it's too late. Most people.
That's right.
But if I said, a pound a month every month, that's right in my face. That means I have to do something today.
Right.
Right. That's it's not future Dan's problem or future Gene's problem. It's today's Gene's problem to fix that issue, right? So the 12-week year also, I think, helps you accomplish probably 4 years of work in one calendar year. Right?
Yeah.
Because you've got 4 chances at that 12-week goal setting, and you're having to revisit that all the time. It's immediately in your face.
Yep.
So you're implementing the 12-week year kind of program with the clients to say, don't wait until summertime to get started on this. This is a now thing. And let's identify what those things are that you need to do right now. There might be new initiatives in the summer.
That's right.
But today, what are those things?
Right. And where does it land in the plan? What is the plan for these 12 weeks? What is the plan for this week? Right? We know what that plan is. What is our intention of the week, on Sunday evening for the rest of the week? If we have that all sorted out and we have our priorities set, then, we approach the week with a plan and we don't feel lost. Right?
How many people do you think actually sit down on Sundays and actually write out their plan for the week? Is that super common?
It's super common. It's super common around high performance agents.
That's a good caveat. So if you're a high performance, and I'm a big fan of like acting like who you want to be, right? Like dress the part type of thing. So if you want to become a high performance agent, one of the things that they do, one of the behaviors that they do, one of the leading indicators of becoming a high performance agent is to sit down on Sunday with your notepad or your Remarkable 2 tablet or whatever you're using, right? And write out the notes and write out the plan for the week and then execute that plan.
And execute the plan, right?
And even if you're not currently a high performing person, that's the behavior that gets you
That
there.
is the behavior, right? So even the newer agents that are diving into the business that's grabbing this concept, it begins to kind of vet, right? It's like, okay, I am setting with intention. How am I going to spend this week? I know what I'm going to do this week. What that allows you to do is now that at the end of the week, that worked well. That didn't, or what didn't work well. How would I adjust for the subsequent week?
Right. And I think that feedback loop is crucial too. That if you wait too late in the year to start doing stuff, you might not have time to get the feedback to like do the fine tuning to get that script or that approach or that marketing piece, or if you're whatever, the video content that you're doing, whatever it is that your strategy is, start doing it now, A/B test it, make sure that you're like dialing it in. And that way, by the time like the busy part of the year comes and things start getting really busy and kind of out of control, you've got all your systems and stuff figured out so that you can deal with that influx of business, right?
Yep.
Because one of the things that I know is that when we get really busy, it's hard to implement new systems, right?
Yes.
It's a double-edged sword. So we get too busy and we can't implement new systems because we're too busy to implement them. But then when we're slow, we don't have enough money to execute some of the changes at that point, right? So it's like you either can't do it because you don't have time, you can't do it because you don't have money. And I think that's a mistake that people make that can be easily remedied by having a performance coach that's going to say, hey, I know that you're busy doing these 8 transactions you have, and congratulations for that. But just remember that if you don't do the leading indicator stuff today, there aren't 8 more transactions behind that one. There's none, right? And you have to continually doing that top of the funnel work every single day with intent, or the whole thing falls apart. Right? Is that what your experience is?
Yeah, right. That's right. You need to be doing those things to grow your business, and that needs to land inside of your plan. When is it going to happen? Because if it falls off, if we leave ourselves into this, if it's empty or we don't execute against that, then it's just this empty space. And what do we do with that empty space? We just become reactive, right? So it's this reactive time, and it gets filled with just stuff that we're reacting to. The plan, right, helps us to be proactive in setting what are the things that are most important for us to drive our business. Certainly we have to, care for a business. We also have to grow, right? So when we have that system in place, we're doing the things that we need to do, and this is our design, right? And we'll execute against that plan. We'll track and measure against that plan. And if it needs a refinement, we'll got another cycle that's comes up, somewhat close to the end of the 12 weeks.
Right. That's really cool because right on week 10, you're planning for the next.
You're planning for the next week.
It really tightens those time frames, keeps everyone accountable, and gives you as the coach, as a performance coach, to be able to help make those fine tuning adjustments to get them really dialed in, get them in that like best self zone, right? Yeah. The other cool thing I think that the Tom Ferry ecosystem does is really creating discipline around the daily habits, the things that you do. There's kind of a prescription in a way of like, having that morning routine and like clearing your head and getting yourself into that space and like, not being tied to your email all day, every day, and being able to like walk away from things to have space to be creative and to think about what's next for you. So kind of, can you walk us through like what that prescription kind of looks like?
Well, what's your morning routine? What is your, what's your morning, mindset? What gets you into the, your right kind of headspace, right? So you get to design that, and knowing and with clarity as to, what your intention is, with the morning is going to help you to, get you into the right space. So, every Tom Ferry member, has their own like routine, but we'll set, the morning of breath, gratitude, a little exercise before we get into these blocks of, we're going to, get up in the morning and have our coffee. Will seek with their plan, right, as they design, the habit of like when is the hours of power going to happen? When is it in your mind space? When does that need to happen?
And the hour of power is when you're like mentally in your peak state to be able to do the hardest stuff of the day. Is that right?
Yeah, an hour of power is, when are we making our calls, right? And we have an outcome and a goal here of, to drive our business, we have to have the hour of power of making our calls, being in in contact with those 5 people that we know, 5 people that we haven't talked to before, 4 people that we are following up with in with a previous interaction, and then 2 either social media kind of posts or or comments to something to share, and that is a focused time of accomplishing that which is the important things and necessary things that we need to do to drive our business. It's an hour of power. So the question is, when does that land in our day?
Yeah, when does that land in your day? It just depends on when you're in that.
When is that? Yeah.
When you're just waking up.
Yeah.
Not when you're distracted by something else happening around you.
Right.
It's got to be that fully dedicated time when you're in like peak state, ready to have those interactions. And bring the energy that you need to be successful in those.
Right. Yeah. Find that space, find that time, and find yourself to be in a distraction-free zone. Yeah, I love the modes that are on our phones now, right? So we can put ourselves in a do not disturb kind of mode.
That's great.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So that we can have.
You can set that timer too, so you can
for an hour.
It happens automatically, right?
Yep.
At this time, it kind of shelters you away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious to know if you can share like a success story from one of the clients that you work with that maybe they're looking at the market going, this is really hard now, and they found coaching, and now they're turning the corner and seeing some success. Any stories that you can share with us about some clients that are finding big success with the coaching?
Yeah. Well, I think with coaching, I have one out in Huntsville, Alabama. Amy Marks. Hi. Hey there, Amy. So her coaching experience is that prior to came to coaching looking for ideas and growth. She was just she had found some productivity in the past, and now joined Tom Ferry in coaching to find some systems and discipline and accountability, and that is what she found, and we've been paired up. Since then, we've been installed marketing systems, prospecting systems, time blocking, and a focus weekly on developing her knowledge, her skill set, and checking in on her mindset. With that, she's learned how to execute on a consistent basis. And so here we are, a little over close to a year, and she achieved her goals.
Fantastic.
Right, for 2022. Which she, in the beginning, thought it was a bit of a stretch, right? Yet she achieved her goals in 2022 and has, big goals for 2023. So
right on.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I love that success is incredible. And the thing that's fascinating about coaching to me is that you're not changing who she is. She's exactly who she was before. You're helping to bring out in her best qualities, right? Like, you're just showing her, to turn that mirror around and going, like, you can do this. This is how it's done. You know, let me just hold you accountable to it. But she's the one who's actually doing the work.
She's doing all the work.
Yeah, that's the best thing.
Yeah, I'm just bouncing ideas off of me, and I'm just asking her good questions. Right. See things a little differently, and she's, you know, she challenges herself, and as all clients, they do challenge themselves. I'm just, as a coach, I'm just asking good questions, and, you know, through that, my hopes is that they will realize their goal, execute their plan against their plan, and, you know, through that execution, they achieve those goals.
That's fantastic. And it's nice being like half coach, half therapist too. It's nice being able to helping people, asking those open-ended questions so they can have that self-discovery. That's another podcast for another day, I think. So winding up here, Gene, so anything else that you want to talk about in terms of coaching, about what the Tom Ferry folks are up to, anything that's going on with you? Give us a quick rundown on Agility Real Estate, because that's something we haven't talked about, right? That's your venture that you opened, with 6 months ago?
Yeah, so about 6 months now. Yeah. Agility Real Estate. It's my wife Annalise and I launched Agility Real Estate. We're a boutique real estate brand that is growing here in Sonoma and Marin County. We are, the name Agility, and it's Agility with a J, is that, as realtors and as real estate professionals and buyers and sellers in this market, we need to be agile, right? We need to be nimble and flexible. And isn't that what you would want?
Absolutely.
In your realtors, right? We have to, understand the situation, look at an obstacle from a number of different angles, right? And together, we'll find solutions to your obstacles and challenges.
Love that. A nice boutique, real estate company helping out people in Sonoma and Marin counties. You have offices in Sonoma and Marin, right?
And in Marin, yes.
That's amazing.
And we love, the theme around, the company is, be outside, love where we live, right? Which we do.
Right.
And so you'll find us, Annalise and I, out
mountain biking,
on every weekend, mountain bike,
hiking, and
any day that we're by the water is a good day.
Spartan racing and doing all sorts of stuff.
Less Spartan racing, I've kind of retired from that stuff. But what I do enjoy is being at the top of the mountain, one way or another, and then just enjoying the view. And I would, challenge everyone who lives here, to find their way to the tops of our regional parks, right? So even close right here, how many people have actually, made the walk through Helen Putnam Park, or Petaluma, right, or Crane Canyon, right, or Annandale.
There's so many of them,
right? And so many of them, right? But we get out of the car, take the trail, walk up a single track road. Go down the path that you haven't been before. And, one thing we learned, with the pandemic is there's just so many beautiful areas of where we live that we just haven't explored. But you have to get there under your own power.
Yeah, for sure.
Get out of the car, get outside, put your trail shoes on, something with them lugs. Yeah, don't go out there with
get some trail runners on and go check it out.
It's a little muddy out there, right? So, but get outside, get up high, enjoy the view.
Love that. Cool, man. Well, hey, we'll put your social media contact and stuff in the show notes so people know how to find you. I'm sure on Instagram and Facebook and all that other stuff they can find you on there, or go to agilityrealestate.com. I'm sure.
Yeah, please.
And check you out there. And anyone who's interested in coaching can reach out to you.
Reach out to me directly, right? And also follow Tom, right, at tomferry.com.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be sharing this episode. I'll make sure that he does. Right on, man. Appreciate you coming by.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks, Dan.
Stay up to date with Bay Area Real Estate. Hit subscribe now if you haven't already. Did you enjoy this episode? We love reviews in the Apple Podcasts app. We'll read yours on the show. Hear more shows about Northern California now